Hi there. Hello, my name is Blanka Tacer from Primera Courses and STEP Institute. It's my honor to host the 34th conference on digital education today. I'm greeting you from Zagreb today in Croatia, where I'm attending another conference. So it's really a lot of events during these days. Welcome all of you. Just shortly, we will see the program first, and later we will also meet all the presenters. So today's conference is devoted to digital teaching of languages. We start with a round table in which two of my colleagues from the project Longtail will present or will discuss how we overcome problems and challenges of international teacher training in the Erasmus Plus program. And then after the roundtable, 3 presentations will follow. We will start with Daniela's presentation on teaching Shakespeare in the digital age. Then we will continue with digital tools for teaching languages online. Daniel will deliver this presentation. And in the end, we conclude with Emilija's presentation on how motherhood changed the digital teacher in me. It's interesting, isn't it? All the presentations, as usual, are available at Facebook group Pan-European Conference on Digital Education. You have the code here on the slide, but I will also share the link with you later in the comments. For today, we are very grateful to the project Longtail, so that we can deliver this conference. This is an Erasmus Plus K2 project under the framework of the Small Scale Partnership. Thank you very much and welcome all the participants across Europe who are today with us. Let's see the presenters today. First, it's my honor to greet Spasia. Hello, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, hi Blanka, and thank you. So my name is Spasia. I represent today Euneos as a course provider with headquarters in Finland, but we offer courses all around Europe. And my job is that I do project management, I'm a course trainer, and also do course administration. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Martin is also our project partner. Welcome from the Longtail project.
Thank you very much. Hello from Lübeck. If you want to make a pleasure to Germans and they are called Martin, try to call them Martin and not with an R, but in the English language context, of course, I say I'm Martin. So thank you very much. I'm a teacher trainer myself. I train teachers of German mostly, but I also organize teacher training courses and funding.
Great, thank you. And here we have an English teacher, Daniela, from Craiova, Romania.
Good afternoon. It is my pleasure to be with you here today. I teach English in high school from Craiova, Petrache Triscu Sports High School, Romania. I have also had some experience as manager of a school in the past years, and I am also a member of the online American community of teachers, and I am very interested in my professional development. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Welcome, Daniel Johnson. Hello.
Hi, Daniel Johnson. Yes, I am a teacher of English, German, and sociology here in Malmö in southern Sweden. Yes, I work for Språklärarnas Riksförbund, and that's the Language Teachers Association of Sweden.
Thank you very much. Emilija, welcome.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Emilija Stojanovska, and I teach English in a primary school. And I've been a teacher for more than 13 years now, and it's a pleasure for me to be here and meet such wonderful people.
Thank you very much. All right, so we will start with two colleagues, Spasia and Martin. We will have a short round table with the title Overcoming Problems and Challenges of International Teacher Training in the Erasmus Plus program. So in the last year, we worked in the long tail project. And I think that this project, so it's a small scale project, but I think we delivered big results because we encountered in some of the problems of international teacher training in the Erasmus Plus program. We tried to overcome them. I think we have some interesting answers, and we will go through that questions, and maybe we will give some new perspectives into it. Of course, our dear participants, please do participate in the round table. And share with us in the comments. So how do you solve some challenges in implementing the Erasmus Plus program? There are several of them. So Spasia, can you start maybe and tell us so how to actually deliver international professional development opportunities to teachers who don't speak English? I think that maybe when we work a lot in international projects, I think that we easily forget that English language is not so obvious for all teachers. It's so easy to forget this, but actually it's quite a big challenge sometimes, right?
Yes, definitely. When we speak about internationalization, we almost always have in mind people who speak English, and people who speak English usually have like the best results in internationalization. But what about the rest of the teachers? So I was thinking about this and thinking about the Erasmus Plus program in general, and there are some opportunities or options to overcome such issues, and few of them may like affect certain organizations, certain contexts more or less. It really depends. But one of the things is that people can actually look for projects who are running K2 projects such as Longtail, for instance, not only to look for free online training if they're coming from Erasmus partner countries, not program countries, or people who cannot join Erasmus Plus for one reason or another. So there are a lot of running K2 projects that offer possibilities of joining online training in mother tongues. And then I was thinking that about the first thing that came on my mind was the Erasmus Plus quality standards. And one of the things that they mention is that people who would like to join projects, they can also get support. And support can be in form of national organizations who are more experienced in certain topics. They can also provide professional training in mother tongues. But also one of the criteria for consortiums, for instance, if you join a consortium and if you're less experienced, then the coordinator of the consortium actually needs to provide certain professional trainings. And of course, this has like limitations, but then there are other options like I was thinking also you can invite an expert from another program country. This also has a limitation because if he or she comes from a different program country, then what about the language barrier here? So it's easier to provide translation when you have one person coming to your school than to send in 3 or 4 people who do not speak English to a course. So this is also an option. Another thing is that certain course providers, I will mention Primera here and I will mention Euneos, we all have international experts who work for us. So these international experts do speak different languages. So there is also possibility for tailored courses in your mother tongue. And you can also invite an expert in your school as well from if you contact a course provider as well. As an
we were also lucky in our long tail project because we offered at least one training in German language, which was an added value of Martin's contribution. Martin, you always challenged us with this, not all people speak English, and so it was a big important topic within our project, right?
Yes, it was, and actually, so we were able to kind of reach out to many people who were kind of probably many of those, however, were people who were also very active in English and could react in English very well. But at the end of the day, and that was our long tail project here. I always have to read the title: increasing accessibility. That's the point. Increasing accessibility of international professional development for language teachers. We can take German as an example, but you can also take teachers of French or even teachers of Russian or some other languages. My suggestion, kind of also in the direction of the Erasmus Plus agencies, would be to dare to take the resources to address topics which are not limited to teaching of German or limited to teaching of French, but also like general topics like here, where we have those people who are able to speak English, are willing to follow in English, in other languages now and then, because quite a few people, and both, I think there are many teachers who are not so competent in English, but they wouldn't admit it because it's kind of embarrassing. I think that's the real truth. But on the other hand, there are also quite a few teachers of German, and I believe also, especially teachers of French and Spanish, who are very competent in communicating in English, but they have an identification in being a teacher of Spanish or being a teacher of German, and so that is why they would rather stay away from English language conversation, which is addressing or talking about concerning topics which have to do generally with language teaching.
I also think that sometimes we need to take a step back and define what an Erasmus course is. Because the providers, we have the opportunities, to develop a K2 project and develop multilingual materials and then offer this as a course. So we have to reach, our quality of working because we will increase accessibility if we offer material in different languages. It's the point also of the whole Erasmus project. But how about the schools with limited administrative capacity? This is also one of the challenges that schools are bringing up to the table quite often, that they cannot afford administrative staff. They don't have enough time to fulfill all the reports or application forms. So what are some solutions here?
Would you like to answer, Spasia, or shall I?
You can. You started, yeah.
Okay, but then you must definitely follow, because I don't want to overtake more than 51% of the time. I think that this is the real challenge. I think that in this whole EU funding context, in this Erasmus Plus context overall, those schools, we are willing with this project to reach out to these schools, and we have been somehow successful, but it is a very big topic, and we have to be very patient, and we should always explain to these new schools that it is possible. Like in this context, the project application forms are much easier than in many other contexts, but they are still, for people who've never done it, they're still kind of complicated. So we shouldn't, I think this is a major mistake. We've been very critical in the EU agency directions. People say, oh, this is much easier than everything else, but we want to address people who've never been in contact with these kind of application forms, and it is still quite something that we should rather say, it is complicated, but you can do it. We will help you. I think that is the communication part. We should, if we want to reach small town, whatever, sometimes also big city schools who stay away from EU funding or application context. And so that's the way we should go. And I think we should report that at the end to our national agencies and say, well, there's still a long way to go.
Spasia.
Yes, I would also add, so if there are no possibilities to really take part into an Erasmus Plus K1 or K2, then something that we did with our long take project, and it's also inevitable now with the Erasmus Plus program, is use eTwinning. So there are many online courses for professional development on eTwinning, at least there used to be, and I'm sure that all the features of eTwinning will be back. But also School Education Gateway provides a lot of online courses for professional development. So time is shorter in this way because you do not need to travel, you do not have to write huge applications and so on and so on. But I would again recommend inviting an expert. That will save a lot of time and money. But also, if you have not done any Erasmus Plus projects before, have no experience, and want to start with internationalization and learn more about it, I warmly recommend hosting teachers. So if you host teachers in your school education, you have a lot of opportunities not only to get involved into internationalization, but also learn from other countries' best practices by sharing experiences. So this is also a good tip for the newcomers, especially.
Indeed, yeah, and it's really no administration because you can just reach out, check which school has Erasmus Plus funds and invite them for hosting. Also, I think that the bottom-up approach is also good for schools who want to start because now the Erasmus Plus K1 also allows for several years now the Erasmus Plus Mobility Consortia. So you can put pressure or initiative to bigger organizations like your municipality and ask them, please set up a mobility consortium, and then they have the administrative part, and you just send your teachers and students to mobilities abroad. Which
definitely applicable,
recently we cannot go without discussing also the shortages of teachers in Europe, because shortage of teachers in Europe is becoming more and more serious recently, and then consequently schools often do not find teachers who are willing to participate mobility, so the motivation gets quite important here. What would you say, when is a good time for Erasmus then in such circumstances? Or maybe Erasmus can be a part of a solution. Spasia, you can continue.
Yes, I think that certain course providers are aware of such issues. So there are also, especially at Euneos, we try to now offer more courses during winter break and during summer break. So people who are really interested in internationalization and going abroad and really dive into whole this entire idea, so they can also participate in their free time. Of course, as I mentioned before, this is not best for some schools, but more or less are applicable and go provide opportunities to overcome such challenges. And I was also thinking, many other things apply here, like eTwinning and School Education Gateway, inviting an expert, hosting teachers, like everything that will bring up more information about internationalization and bring up more interests. But I was also thinking that in such situations, sending a small number, 1 or 2 participants to a course training, and then very important, developing a great dissemination plan for your organization, but also for your local community, it can also help into overcoming this issue.
Yes, Martin, another,
Yeah, I think also you talked about a shortage. If you want to attract people who are able to teach languages, and then also you can also attract them maybe with the opportunities of internationalization they have are maybe having a little bit better paid job, which I don't like. I think that's the real situation in many cases, that people who are looking for these kind of potential teachers are looking in this kind of market where people get a little bit better wage, but don't have a fulfilling job. And then you need kind of examples, presentations with what can you actually do. And once again, in the direction of national agencies, I think what has been done is like presenting these very, very good, well-running project with these very, very active, like we are here today, probably very bit overactive, maybe very motivated people in the teaching context. Maybe it's a good idea to present also in what we can actually see in brochures or on websites, that some people who have been the first time in such a context, and maybe they were not those who overperformed, but they kind of normally performed, and to present them, because otherwise you kind of shy away people because they think, oh, that's too much, I can't do it. So I think that we should go in this direction, and then if we have kind of websites which present kind of people who used to be in some kind of boring office and now have been a teacher for 3 years and they have been taking part in it, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, a very good perspective indeed. Yeah, I also think that now is more important than ever that the different Erasmus Plus projects in schools are very well linked to everyday activities in schools, because otherwise it's really too much additional work for teachers who are already burned out. Yeah, so well-connected activities with everyday activities in school, and maybe this is the path that we can pursue. Yeah, so thank you very much, Spasia and Martin. Thank you for your insights. We will continue with presenting of 3 teaching cases. And we start with Daniela. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Once again, yeah, welcome once again. So Daniela will present her case on teaching Shakespeare in the digital age. Daniela, okay, I will remove Spasia and Martin, and the whole stage is yours now.
Thank you so much. Let's see if you can see my presentation.
Yes, we
can
have
you see it
here. Yes, you just need to put it on the whole screen, on the presentation mode.
Yes, let's see. Now, is that all right?
Now it's okay. Yes, yes. Okay,
Good.
here we.
Thank you. So once again, I am Daniela Dumitra Balosache from Petrache Triscu High School in Craiova, Romania. And today I'm going to talk about teaching Shakespeare in the digital age. Let us consider some of Shakespeare's lines. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. So I would ask you to allow me to begin with some methodological considerations. We all know that teachers and students are also actors on the great stage of the educational system, a system that has been continuously changing in order to achieve maximum results. The modern idea of education nowadays includes several new approaches, from which today I will illustrate only 3. The use of active participatory teaching methods, among which dramatization is the most successful in terms of teaching foreign languages. The outdoor educational approach, which helps students to learn in a natural environment while being free of typical restraints of indoor classroom activities. And the use of IT tools and educational software in order to address the digital native learners. We all know that digital native learners are intuitive, have an inherent understanding of digital technology, and they learn via participation rather than passively. Why dramatization? Well, because in my opinion, this is a successful ingredient of the didactic repertoire. The dramatization method has multiple advantages, such as developing communication skills in students' mother tongue and in English as well, developing the competence of cultural awareness or other competencies like social and civic competencies. It also helps in the acquisition of basic management skills. For instance, in a group of student actors, students have to decide on temporal resources, human and material resources. So they are the managers of their acting. These methods also helps in increasing the degree of cohesion at the level of social groups, that is the class of students. It also aids in a better self-knowledge and analysis of one's own personality, in the sense that a student playing a character will definitely analyze his own traits of personality and comparing them to the personality of the role or the character that he is acting. So this self-analysis generally leads to a better self-knowledge, and it's very interesting. And then it also helps in increasing the degree of empathy and acceptance of the others, in the sense that in a group, students will have to negotiate possible conflicts, possible differences of opinion, and so on and so forth. Here we have a picture of one of my students playing one of Shakespeare's characters. I'm going to present you later this project. So as a literature framework, let's say, I should mention the fact that we have briefly saying a day, a name, and a consistent cultural legacy, which is left to us by the well-known British writer William Shakespeare, whom we celebrate on the 23rd of April, which is not only the National Day of England, but also the day when we pay homage to this wonderful writer. It is very difficult to present Shakespeare in a nutshell, but I would like to mention that he wrote around 38 plays of theater and over 154 sonnets. He's considered a real creator of language. He's well remembered for his tragedies, among which I would mention Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Antony and Cleopatra, comedies like Much Ado About Nothing, A Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, and history plays like Henry IV, Henry VIII, or Richard III. Well, in my opinion, Shakespeare's work is so vast and complex to the point that it would be very difficult to analyze it within the limited frame of a single interpretative formula. Scholars say that William Shakespeare contributed to 1,700 words to the English language, in the sense that he was the first author to write them down. He contributed to the standardization of English in the 17th and the 18th century, and he created compound words, adverbs, and adjectives from verbs. He added suffixes and prefixes to many words. His work distinguishes itself through the classicist formal restrictions and moralistic approach, the humanistic focus perspective of Renaissance, the sensitivity and sensibility of the Romantic epoch, the modern imaginative freedom, a desire of vengeance along with inexplicable passions that arouse from magic, and the unleashed forces of nature in consonance with the vibration of the characters' souls. Everything is engaging and magic in his work. I also wrote 2 books on Shakespeare. These are a hermeneutic approach of his works. One of them is an analysis of love-related motives in his plays, and the other one deals with characters. I analyze only characters. The title is The Spell of Shakespeare's Characters. In my opinion, all the characters are very colorful, mysterious, and interesting and captivating. Now, going back to the topic of today, in my teaching repertoire, either we are speaking about teaching or learning, or even in the evaluation process, I inserted IT tools. So among the online tools that I used were presentations, Padlets, online videos, Project Gutenberg, which is an extraordinary source of texts. Today, I would like to present you at least 2 of these tools very briefly. One of them is a site about Shakespeare's birthplace, but the other one that I would like to explore a little bit with you in a couple of seconds is called My Shakespeare, and this is really Shakespeare playground, I should say, metaphorically saying, in the sense that a student could sign in with an account or a teacher, and then he would have lots of resources. Like, for instance, you could choose whatever play you want to study, let's say Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar, whatever, just by clicking it. Let's say we click My Romeo and Juliet. And now a page is opened with the first act. But what is interesting is the fact that on the left and on the right, students have a lot of information at a click distance. For instance, if you want to make sure that you read and pronounce well the lines, then you would have the possibility to listen to those lines by clicking the speaker. Like this. Good, so on and so forth. So this is a very interesting tool that helps students read well in English. Then, for instance, let's say we have some words that we are not sure about, let's say their meaning, or maybe where do they come from, or what is the root of the word. Then we would click on the language item and we will have a presentation. Good, so on and so forth. Then what else we have here? Double meaning. At a click distance, we have another explanation. Or something related to the idea of sonnet, a definition of the sonnet, let's say. Good. And something very interesting, if we want to engage more our students, then we can present them a prologue song. This is very funny and they really enjoy it. It speaks to them directly. Let's see if it works. Just a little bit. I'm going to present you a few seconds of it. Let's see. So students really enjoy watching such videos, and here we have a short narrative of the plot, and they are also inspired, so they can even write their own lines and try to interpret them. Now, what I would also like to share with you is another tool for assessment, a tool that I generally used to assess my students, or even in, let's say, the self or the independent learning. This could be also applied to that. For instance, what I have to do is to go to live worksheets, and there they would find a task on William Shakespeare. They have a video presenting the life of William Shakespeare, and then they have to answer some questions in the sense that they have to fill in some blank spaces. I will just click on it just to give you a hint of that, how it works. So this is a British Council resource.
Daniela, is it supposed to be silent, or do we?
No, it has a sound. Can you hear it?
No, we can't hear the sound.
Okay, I see. Good. Anyway, the video has a sound. I don't know why. Can you hear it? Anyway,
it's okay because so also your presentation is available on the Facebook group, so participants can download it, and they have a link so they can check the website later.
Good. Okay. So one idea I would like to share with you here. So after the students watch the videos, they will have to fill in the spaces. Let's say that William Shakespeare was born in 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon in England, and we fill it in. Then his father was a glove maker. His mother Mary was a farmer's daughter. He had 2 older sisters, 2 younger sisters, and 3 younger brothers. Then after students fill in all those spaces, they will click on finish. This is very interesting how it works. Then check my answer. And what is very important is the fact that they would have a result immediately. So I've got a mark here because I have only filled in 2 spaces. Those are in green. So correct answers will be highlighted in green, and the incorrect or the absent answers will be highlighted in red. This is very, very interesting. Then what I would like to share with you is that after we've gone through all this process of teaching and learning, we have come to the outmost of our activities. One more activity I had here. I also applied Kahoot games. For instance, since we started in the classroom Much Ado About Nothing, we have several questions like content comprehension questions. For instance, where does the play take place? The play takes place in Messina, Italy. Or questions like that. How are Beatrice and Hero related? They are cousins. Or a detailed question like, who states, I had rather hear my dog bark at a crowd than a man swear he loves me? This is something that Beatrice says about Benedict. And this retort, you're going to see it in our theater project. What we did was that we paid homage to William Shakespeare. We went to the Botanical Garden in Craiova, and there we played some fragments from two plays. One of them is a comedy, Much Ado About Nothing, and the other one is a historic play, Richard III. Here are my students, some photos. But I will ask Blanka if she can deliver the videos for you now.
Which one? Much Ado About Nothing? Or...
Yes, and Richard III. They won't last long.
We will start with Much Ado About Nothing.
What, my dear lady, this dame? Are you yet leaving? Is it possible this dame should die while she has such sweet food that she has more Benedict? Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence. Then is courtesy a turtle? But it is certain out of all ladies, only you accepted. And I would I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart. For truly, I love none. A dear happiness to women. They would else have been troubled with a pernicious suitor. I thank God in my cold blood I have a real cure for that. I had rather hear my dog bark at the crowd than a man swear he loves me. God keep your ladyship still in that mind, so some gentleman or other shall escape a predestinate scratched face. Scratching could not make it worse, and wear such a face as yours for. Well, you are a rare parrot, teacher. A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours. I would my horse at the speed of your tongue, and so I could have continued. But keep your way. In God's name, I have done.
That's great. How old are they?
They are in the 10th grade right now.
Right. So let's see the other one. It's Richard III.
Un omagiu adus marelui scriitor William Shakespeare de către elevii de la liceul cu program sportiv Petrache Triscu, Craiova, sub bagheta domnișoarei profesor Daniela Balosache, am pregătit două scurte momente teatrale din piesele Mult zgomot pentru nimic și Richard al III-lea.
A bloody tyrant and a homicide, one that made means to come by what he has and slaughtered those that means to help him, a base foul stone, made precious by the foil of England's share where he's falsely set, one that have ever been God's enemy. But if you fight against God's enemy, God in justice ward you as his soldier. If you do fight against your country's foes, your country's fat shall pay your pains the higher. If you do fight in safeguard of your wives shall welcome home the conquerors. If you do free your children from the sword, your children's children quitting your age. Then, in the name of God and all of these rights, advance your standards. Draw your willing sword. For me, the ransom of my bold attempts shall be this cold corpse on the earth's cold face. But if I drive the gains of my attempt, the least of you shall share his part thereof. Sound drums and trumpets, boldly and cheerfully, God and St. George, Richmond and victory!
Bravo.
Thank you.
Yeah, Daniela, you can continue, or is that the last?
So this is the last part of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. I will leave you with a thought that I like to share with you. The fact that the word theater comes from a Greek term. This means a place of sight. It is a place where people come to see the truth about life and social situation. That's why I consider that the power of theater, generally speaking, is a very important one. School theater is inspiring, and it can be a means through which we can develop not only our students' cognitive abilities, but also their social skills. It is a really treasure method, and if you apply in your classrooms, I'm sure you will have the best of results. Thank you so much for paying attention to my presentation. It has been a pleasure to be with you today, and I'm looking forward to the next conference.
Thank you, Daniela, also not just for your contribution, but that you inspire us with your projects that are usually so great. Apparently, our Martin has a question. Do students react shocked or something alike when they first hear that they are to work with such an old writer as Shakespeare? So what is the reputation of Shakespeare amongst so young students?
Thank you so much for the question. Well, I, as a teacher and a lover, a passionate of Shakespeare, I am engaged in making Shakespeare modern, in tricking them that Shakespeare is modern, in the sense that I try not to shock them or to diminish the awe or the shock by teaching Shakespeare as I presented you today in a modern way, a modern approach by inserting IT tools. For instance, if we access the site and see his birthplace, then if we watch a video with a song, if we watch live worksheets, we no longer have the impression that we work on a text of a writer from the 16th or 17th century. We have to bring Shakespeare into modernity, into today, and this is something that I do using modern methods. And after we come to terms that Shakespeare is modern and is actual through his messages, the moral messages that his plays have, then we begin to approach it in a traditional sense, because as you saw, my students made a great effort in wearing epoch clothes, attires that are kind of evoking that epoch, and they really enjoy that. So we try to keep, first of all, the pure message of Shakespeare's plays about good, about love, about understanding, about prosperity, and then we try also to travel in time and enjoy and play with our attires and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. I think that Shakespeare would take you as a manager today. So thank you very much, Daniela.
It is my honor.
Yeah. We continue with Daniela Johnson, and now please be even more engaged. Please take your phones, all the participants, please take your phones, because Daniel will have an interactive presentation, and you will be invited to share your ideas on the question he will propose. The title of his presentation is Digital Tools for Teaching Languages Online. He will present several of them. Daniel, thank you very much. It's your time now.
Thank you. Hi, and what a great presentation about Shakespeare. I was like, oh, I don't know whether I want to use Shakespeare nowadays. My kids would be so angry at me, but I'm inspired. So thank you very much. I'm going to try and present this now. I've got a new screen, so I can't quite see you guys. But if you hopefully can see my screen now, the presentation.
Yes, we see the screen now. Yeah.
Wonderful. So I'm going to go through this presentation, and during it you can leave reactions to my different slides. But I'll go into a little bit of details in a second. So first of all, Daniel Johnson, language teacher in Sweden. I work in Malmö in Sweden in an upper secondary school, teach English, German, and sociology there. I'm originally from the UK, from Northern England, Leeds. I also work with the Language Teachers Association of Sweden. So that's a little bit about me. And I would really love you guys to join my presentation. You can use the link that I believe is being written in the chat, or even the QR.
I put the link in the chat, so please everyone go in the chat, click on it, or if you use the phone, you can also scan the QR code on the screen.
Exactly. There's a QR code on the screen, or you can go to the link there in the chat, and I believe you can pick an emoji. So just to prove to me that you're there, I see there's 2 people are being involved. I'm also going to log into on my phone and see if I can give myself an emoji. I'm going to give myself a little heart there, so I can see that some people are a bit involved now. This is one of the tools that I use. So I thought the best way to deal with digital teaching online is to force my viewers to also use some of the tools. That would take me a long time to go through all of them, but I can go through a few of them. So we're testing out AHA slides, but I'll talk more about that in a second. So if we move on to the next slide, I would love to know where you guys are joining from today. So if you are still logged in on the web, on your phone, or on your computer, you can put in your location so I can see where you're all coming from. Also, I'm involved here, so I'm going to use my phone and log in as well. I'm coming here from Malmö. Am I there? Yes. So this is a great tool for making lessons a little bit more interactive with your students if you're using presentations. I can see lots of you are involved now, and lots of you are typing. And it just makes lessons a little bit more fun, especially if you're working digitally online. Sometimes it can be a bit boring sitting in front of a computer. So kind of makes things a bit more fun if you can interact and you can see where people are coming from, what you think about that kind of thing. Wonderful. So I'm going to ask you to stop there. I'm going to jump onto the next slide, which is, I want to know, are you guys ready to join? Are you ready to be part of this? If you are, you can send me a fun emoji. Oh, there should be a question here that hasn't come up, but that's fine. One of the joys of teaching is that things don't always really work out as they're supposed to. But the idea was you should get a choice here, but it didn't happen, so that's fine. But you're sending me lots of emojis, so I'm super happy. Okay, so we talked about digital natives before, and I want to just highlight it a little bit because I think there's an idea about digital natives that a lot of our kids are super, super good at all these computers and all these online things, but I have found in my experience that at times they're not as good at computers as we think they are. So there's something to keep in mind is that, of course, they're growing up using these computers, using iPhones or iPads or mobile phones, but it's super important to keep in mind that as a teacher, we have to guide them through this jungle of digital tools, because some of them are better than others and that kind of thing. It's really important that we kind of are in control of the situation. That gets me onto my next slide, talking about TPAC, which is by Mishra and Kohler. It was a framework for thinking about technical pedagogical content knowledge, which sounds really complicated, but the idea is that as teachers, before the introduction of computers, we had content knowledge and pedagogical knowledge. But now we have to ensure we also have technical knowledge so that we can use that in our teaching. And what's really important as well is that we don't just use digital tools for the sake of using them, that we think about, okay, is this tool something that I want to use? Does it make sense in this context before we just dive in and use it? Because some tools are more of a hinder. Sometimes the most important thing a student can do is sit down with a pen and paper. And one of the arguments within TPAC, or people who've written also about TPAC, is that a pen and paper is also a tool. Maybe not a digital tool, but it's also a really important tool. And I don't know whether you can see these circles, but we need to be right in the middle there. We need to have the technical knowledge, the content knowledge, and the pedagogical knowledge to be excellent teachers. So that's why you got to test out all these tools and see and guide our students through this jungle of technology. Okay, jumping onto my next slide. When I pick digital tools, I always think these are the things that I like to keep in mind. They've got to be intuitive. They've got to be quite easy to use, because I'm going to use them in my teaching and I want to be able to use them as quickly as possible. They've also got to be intuitive for my learners, my students, because if they're too complicated, too hard, maybe they'll give up, maybe they're not going to be able to take part. It just makes things so much more hard work. So it's so much easier if we think they should be easy to use. Preferably that the tools that I use do not have the necessity of creating accounts or logging in and giving details. And this is to do with GDPR, but also practical things like email addresses and that kind of thing. Maybe not all students have them. We have to think about the spectrum of students we have. And like data security and that kind of thing is super important. So I prefer to try and use tools that are not, that don't have account creation. And then finally, well, almost finally, is that I think tools should preferably be free or low cost, because not everybody or not all schools can afford these kind of things. And most importantly is the final point, and that is purpose. Like, why am I picking these tools and using these tools? So there's things that I keep in mind. And here we've got my first tool, and I believe we've got a Finnish colleague here with us, or a colleague from Finland. It's a Finnish tool, or it's made in Finland. It's called flinga.fi, and it's a kind of collaborative tool. As you can see in these two boxes here, there's different ways of using it, and I've chosen one there where my students have had different points. This is in sociology, but it works just as well in language teaching, to link things up together. And they write in, they get a code, they go into the site, and they can write something in a little box or a little circle, and they can link things up together. So it's a really helpful tool in that way. They can also be used for exit tickets or to summarize previous lessons content. You just give them the link and they can go in and just put down their thoughts and that kind of thing. So it's a super useful tool. It demands account creation for the teacher, but not for those using it. And that's a positive. Also, it's free. Then we have Linoit or Linuit, and this is kind of like a pin board, a bulletin board for teaching. So we can begin the lesson with today's tasks and write down the things we're going to be doing. We can do what I call the question queue. I've got some quite big classes, and sometimes I don't manage to speak to all of my students. So I ask them to write their questions on the pin board, so that if I don't manage to get hold of my students during the lesson, I can answer their question digitally and maybe email them or contact them after the lesson. Super useful task. It kind of looks cute. So bringing back the old traditional pin boards into modern teaching. I'll jump onto my next tool, which is all I'm using now, AHA slides, interactive presentations. You can ask questions, you can respond. I can make sure that you guys are with me when I'm presenting. One negative point is this one that does cost money, which is a bit of a shame. I've got quite a good school leader. My head teacher is quite open to paying for some tools for me, and he is willing to pay for this one, but it does cost quite a bit. But it's definitely fun. And now we're going to test one of the features. Let's see if it works. If we go to the next slide, I mentioned before where it's from. So could join the game. I'm going to have to stop after a while because there's going to be so many of us. But I will stop after a handful, and I've got one question for you guys that I've mentioned in this slide. So if you want to log in now, you can. Everyone gets a little emoji and a name. Let's see how many. There's so many of you here. It's wonderful. I never tried it with this many people. There are limits to how many people can take part, but we'll wait a little bit longer and let a few more people join us and see if we can test this. There's only one question, and it's something that's come up in my presentation thus far. So let's see. Should I start the quiz? I will. I've got 20 players, that's maybe enough. So, one question. It kind of works like Kahoot. Which country do I come from? And let's see if you can get the answer correct. Ready? Now on your mobile phones, you write the question and you submit it. And you only have a few seconds to write the answer, so it's a little bit stressful as well. We'll see how it works. You've got only around 5 seconds to go. 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Time's up. Oh, that's right. 5 of you got it right. I'm from England. Let's see. I also can see that as a teacher, you can go in later and see what other responses people wrote. Maybe someone spelled England wrong, or maybe someone wrote the UK, or maybe they wrote Leeds, for example, which would also be okay. I shall say it's a bit of a rude question because I currently living in Sweden. So I would say those 11%, they're not totally wrong. So it's a super fun tool for teaching, checking content, checking that the students have understood what you're talking about, and it's great fun. So if I jump forward, we can see the leaderboard. We got Spasia, Oana. Spasia is the winner. Of course, you normally have more questions than just this one question. Oops, sorry. And as you can see how many points the student gets, and I can also include them if I want to. So well done, Spasia, you won. A little bit embarrassing that it's my quiz and my name is here, and I got only 3rd place. But I mean, you can't win everything. So jump onto a few more tools. I'm going through these super fast. I'm sorry, I should slow down a little bit maybe, but I've not got many tools left, but I thought maybe I'll have some time for questions. Thinking about languages, lyricstraining.com is definitely one of my favorites. I don't know whether any of you folks have used this before, but it's a wonderful tool for listening comprehension, for example. Working with vocabulary and grammar really motivates my students. They love playing lyrics training. You can pick whether you want, for example, like in the picture, you pick a song, a popular song that's popular at the moment, and the song plays and there's a gap in the text, and then you've got to pick the right word to fit in the gap. It's great fun. And there's different levels as well, so you can have a more beginner level when there's not many words missing, or a more advanced level when there's lots of words listening. I think the most advanced level is when every word is missing, which is a little bit stressful. You can also have a version when the words are not on the screen there, when you've got to type the words in yourself. But I would really recommend it. It's great fun. And if there's songs that you want to include that are not already on the website, if they're on YouTube, you can upload them and add the lyrics so that you can test specific things with your students. I would really recommend using that. Again, it's free, it's easy to use, no in-log required for teachers or for students. So definitely an excellent tool for practicing. The music, the songs, there's lots of different languages involved. So there's German, Spanish, French, English, probably many more. So it's definitely worth testing it out. Sorry, I'm a bit cold today. Right, next one is Youglish. I don't know whether any of you folks know this, but Youglish is a great fun tool for practicing pronunciation. They have lots of different types of English, and I believe they also have a few other languages. I believe German is also involved. And in Youglish, you write a word that you're not sure how to pronounce, and you click on search, and you click on play, and you get lots of different examples of lots of different YouTube videos where this word is pronounced. So you can pick US English or UK English or Australian English, or even all Englishes. And you can hear how the word is pronounced by lots of different speakers. And these can be, I know I did one in German recently, and some of the examples are like German vloggers. They have, I believe, the former Chancellor Angela Merkel was also involved. So there's lots of different clips of this word being spoken again and again and again, so that your students can get used to the pronunciation and practice. So it's super, super helpful. especially when I'm not there to help my students with the pronunciation. If we jump on, I think I'm almost at the end now. And now I spelled this wrong here. It's word clouds, not word clouds. I'll change that before I send out the presentation. But word clouds are super fun way to introduce new topics, to introduce literature. Here's an example that I have done here, where I have copied the whole text from Wikipedia on the book Looking for Alaska, which I read with some of my students. Copy it in, pop it on the slide on the presentation so that your students can see it. And you can see from the word cloud, the words that are mentioned more often are larger. So we can see that Alaska is a large word, but we know that the book's called Looking for Alaska. It's a book, it's a novel, but there's also lots of different words as well that we can take out and think, okay, why? We're talking about death, we're talking about suffering, we're talking about, what else? Reading, words, relationships, all these different things. So before you start reading a book, your students can get an idea of, okay, what's this book going to be about? And there's also many other ways you can use word clouds. Word clouds also, you can pick different, I picked a cloud form here, but you can pick lots of different forms. Super fun tool, and makes introducing literature to students a little bit more interesting, because sometimes if you just hand them the book, they're like, oh no, I don't want to read. So try and kind of make it a little bit more interesting for them. So that was me. I just picked out a few tools, not so many, but I thought maybe give you an idea of the things that I work with, and the majority of them are free to use, don't require logins and that kind of thing, but they're super helpful to use. But one thing, if you take away one thing from today, it's that I want you to really think about TPAC, which is, like I said, ensure you pick the right tools for the purpose, and make sure that the things that you are using in teaching really make sense in the context, and don't just use digital tools because someone's told you, oh, you should be more digital. It's really, really important to think about the reasons why we're teaching with these digital tools. That went really fast. I'm sorry. I was so excited to share with everybody, but I hope.
Thank you very much, Daniel. I think that you gave us just enough of the taste, and the last sentence that you told us is really important. Yeah, we really have to, sometimes less is better.
Definitely.
Definitely, yeah. And I liked the tools that you presented, because apparently they are so simple to use. You don't need any advanced digital skills to integrate them in teaching classes.
That's also my goal. Like I work in my school with helping my students. My colleagues use digital tools, and some of my colleagues are maybe a little bit less experienced with with computers and that kind of thing. So the tools have to be, easy for them to use as well.
Yeah. We have one question. Vesna is interested in any kindergarten suitable apps or digital activities. If you maybe have some suggestions.
I'm not super sure. I teach older kids, so my students is upper secondary, so I teach like 16 to 19-year-olds. I don't really have experience with the younger kids, but I'm quite sure that things such as I think Daniela mentioned Kahoot. I think that could be possible. I don't really know. I don't work with such young kids. I'm sorry.
No worries. Yeah, Daniela is nodding something. Maybe she has some answers to this question.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was thinking the fact that I also teach primary, secondary, and high school students, and the problem is the same, because for kindergarten children, tasks should be much easier than what we have actually. This is it. But I think you can just Google it, and maybe you find something interesting. For instance, here in Romania, we have a Super Smarty competition for little children, and maybe if you just click on Super Smarty, something like that, you would get some learning resources there.
Mhm. And Martin is also telling us that if we plan Kahoot very well, then it should fit to kindergarten context also. And dear participants, I know that there are some kindergartens from Croatia here. If you use any digital tools for kindergartens, please do type them in the comments so that we can learn from you all.
I would recommend, though, one thing we can say that I often say to my colleagues as well is just try, just test it. And like, if something doesn't work so well, like, that's fine. You've learned something, maybe that you've learned how to adapt things for your students. So it's worth just give it a go. It's not going to be the end of the world if something doesn't quite work out.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah, a little bit of growth mindset is always useful, and to learn from your own mistakes. Yeah.
I think so.
Thank you, Daniel. And now we go to the last presentation. Emilija, welcome once again. Emilija will have a presentation on how motherhood changed the digital teacher in me. A lot of teachers here are mothers, parents, so I think we will learn from you and maybe connect with you, because I think that when we got our own child, it gives another perspective to life. Emilija,
Yes.
here.
Yes, it definitely does. Thank you. So maybe Vesna will find something useful in my presentation on what digital tools she can use with such young students, especially in kindergarten, hopefully. So I hope you can all see my presentation, right?
A second, yes.
Blanka?
Yeah, I'm here. But I don't have your presentation here. So if you can maybe share it once again.
Sure.
It disappeared here. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here it is.
So once again, my name is Emilija Stojanovska, as I introduced myself at the beginning of the conference. I've been teaching English at a state primary school for more than 13 years now, and I've been working with students from the age of 6 to 14, but mostly with the younger students from the age of 6 to 10 years old. So what I would like to share with you today, I hope it's something that really changed my life in recent years, and I hope that it's something that will actually inspire you to change things in the way that you actually teach your students at school. So the title of my presentation is How Motherhood Changed the Digital Teacher in Me. And as we said at the very beginning, it really changes your perspective once you become a parent. So you might be wondering, what do motherhood and teacherhood have in common? But I will show you that they have a lot in common. So when I got my children, so those are the two main and very important events in my life, the birth of my son and the birth of my daughter, I started reading more and I started researching about ways in which I can help my children grow better, which means that they should be physically and cognitively developed well. So I asked the question, what do children need for a proper physical and mental development? So when I started reading more on this topic, I really questioned my ideas of teaching and the approaches that I've been using so far in the classroom. So I really came to thinking, I want the best for my kids at home. So this is something that I also use in the classroom and help the students in any possible way to get their cognitive or mental development to the best level. So I'm going to actually summarize what I've learned sort of in 5 aspects. So I'm going to talk about the social emotional learning, experiential learning, movement, collaboration with parents, and creativity. Starting with the social emotional learning, I think it is crucial for teachers to realize that our role is not only to sort of conduct the material, to teach the required material in the lessons, but our task is also to bond with the students and recognize their feelings and emotions. Unfortunately, in the last few years, we were facing with a terrible condition with pandemics, and most of us suffered a lot, and we have traumatic experiences. And whether we like it or not, this really reflects all of us and also the students in our schools. So I started researching more about this, and I found out that definitely for a student to have a very productive learning process, they need to feel safe. So my first task when I go back to school is to create as safe and as pleasant learning environment as it is possible. In that regard, I came across Jamboard. So I decided Jamboard to be my tool in order to reach to my students and their emotions. You might be wondering how I did that. I started using entry and exit tickets, but not entry and exit tickets that are actually related to the content of that lesson, but more entry and exit tickets that refer to the feelings of the students. So as you can see here, the first slide of my Jamboard presentation for the day, where we were supposed to talk about the 7 wonders of the world, is how are you feeling today? So actually I provided pictures with emotions, and I asked my students to label the picture that best describes their emotion in that moment or during that day or even recently. Luckily for me, on these lessons, most of my students felt excited and happy, so I could proceed with what I was planned. But if most of your students are feeling sad or unhappy or bored, maybe you could take some of your lessons, some of the time, and focus on their feelings. Because imagine you're about to teach them conditionals, for example, and most of your students are feeling sad and unhappy. Do you think that that lesson would be a success? Probably not. So let's focus and answer our students' needs. We are there for them, to listen to them and help them in the learning process. So in case they choose a sad emotion or unhappy smiley face and so on, then why don't you talk about things that actually make them happy or give them pleasure in life? This would be a nice way to change the atmosphere in the classroom or of that lesson. And of course, this is a good way for your students to relax, to feel more comfortable, and to see that you actually care about them and their emotions. And of course, as an exit ticket, you can actually ask them to name one thing that made them feel better during that lesson. So you see my students answered that the whole lesson was good for them, or the friends, the teachers, or the websites that we shared, and so on. So if you get positive feedback, then this is good for you to know in order how to proceed in the following lessons. So these are the methods, or this is the content that your students really like. On the other hand, if they say that they were bored, or I don't know, the topic was not appealing enough for them, or so on, this is good for the teacher reflection of the lesson. So you know that next time you can do something differently in order to reach to your students better. Now, the next aspect is experiential learning. There is a very famous psychologist you might have heard of, David Kolb, who really discusses this experiential learning. He describes it as a process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. Knowledge results from the combination of grasping and transforming the experience. Now, as a mother, it's easy for me to take my kids to the zoo or to a library or to a museum so we can discover their touch, feel, smell, and then we can discuss on the way home about the emotions that we had there, or what we've seen, or what we've learned, and so on. But when you're in the classroom and with your students, it's a bit tricky because we don't have the freedom or the opportunity to get our students outside whenever we want, to whichever place we want to. And especially if we are in a lockdown, there is another pressure on us, right? So I kept wondering, what do I do to take my students out of the classroom and give them the opportunity of experiential learning? In that sense, I came up with ThingLink. So this is an amazing site which enables you to create unique experiences with interactive images. The good thing about this is that you can find and use some of the already ready-made. And of course, you can create content that would respond to your own personal needs in the classroom. What is amazing about this site is that you can incorporate videos, 360 degrees images of places of different corners of the world. And of course, you can add different videos. Here we went on a virtual tour and we visited the 7 wonders of the world with my class, and they had to find out information to discover more about that place, those places, and then fill in a chart, which was really nice and enjoyable and a bit different experience for them. As you can see here, maybe Vesna or some other people from the kindergarten can find this useful because you can see how the images are moving. And there you can take them to an Amazon rainforest and, I don't know, ask them about the plants that they see there or what kind of animals they see, or they can talk about the weather or the scenery or whatever. So it really gives you a lot of opportunities. You just need to look at the site and create something that would respond to your needs. And it's also very useful for the flipped classroom techniques. So you can share a link with your students to watch at home or look at some websites or videos, and then you can come back to the classroom and discuss about their virtual tour experience and actually share their impressions with you. The next aspect is movement. It is my favorite one, and it's really, really, really important for young children. So especially important for their mental development. It is crucial up to the age of 7 and of course even later. So I really like this. The more they burn, the better they learn. So you might be wondering why I'm talking about digital and then I'm talking about movement, physical activity. Maybe you think that it's impossible to bring them together, but of course it's possible, and it's all up to us. And like Daniel said in his presentation, there are so many opportunities out there, so many things for us to explore. So we just need to find the best ones that really answer our needs. So what did I do? It's really tricky with young students. I want them to move. So I even do this not just during the pandemic, but even now as a warm-up activity at the beginning of the lesson or end of class activity. This is a great person, a very short video.
Find the animals. We pounced like a lion. Rah! We did the elephant dance. And we choked our big crocodile jaws.
Right, so this is Coach Josh. So he has his YouTube channel and he offers very nice videos with proper movements for young children. As you can see on the photo, my students were enjoying immensely themselves during these lessons. And the good thing about it, it's not like you're in a PE lesson, but he actually incorporates the topics of animals, the English alphabet, numbers, or parts of the body, and he does it all in a fun way. So the students really like to watch this, follow his movements, and once they learn them, then we don't even need to watch the video, but we just briefly do it at the beginning or the end of the lesson, just, to get in the mood, or if they're writing something or sitting for a longer period of time, then it's a great way to stir up the atmosphere in the classroom. Now, the next very, very, very important aspect is collaboration with parents. For example, my children are very young, but still, even when I go to the kindergarten, I would like to be in touch with to stay in touch with the teachers there, and I want them to tell me more about the progress of my children and whether I can help them in some way, or just tell them that I'm there for them to feel safe and they can count on me in any way. I don't know what's the case with other countries, but unfortunately in our country, I believe that the teacher-parent collaboration is a bit weak, because very often parents sort of hide some things from the teachers, and this is important for us. Because in a situation where you see a person who is feeling like sort of bored or is not interested in the lesson, as teachers, we might easily conclude that, he's not a good student, he doesn't want to collaborate and so on, but actually behind the numb expression of his face might be a very serious family problem. So that's why I believe that this collaboration is crucial. And also, I believe that in this way, we can help the children develop even a better relationship with their parents, because it is sad to say, but in many cases, that relationship is sort of lost. So for this purpose, I use Padlet, and I create these, I can say, portfolios, where students actually post something. They create a very short text or just a few sentences that are related to the recent content that we did in class, or simply like, for example, at the end of the unit. And it's also good for the formative assessment, but because we can see what these children achieved and to what extent. And it can also give us a great perspective on which aspects they need our support more in the future. As far as for the parents, this is also a good way for the parents to keep track of their children's performance. And also, it can help them learn more about their kids' interests, because believe it or not, there are many parents who are not aware of what their children are watching, what kind of TV series or what kind of clothes they prefer, or what kind of toys they like to play with, or so on. So I think that this is also a good way to strengthen the bond between the parent and the child. And also the parents are welcomed to join our Padlets and leave a comment or post something about them, so that we can all be a big community where we all feel like one big family, and we can share ideas with each other in order to feel more comfortable and in order to have better results in the future. The next, last but not least, aspect that I want to talk about is creativity, because creativity plays also a very, very, very important part in the cognitive development of students. It can help them express their feelings. It can also help them solve problems. So it also helps the teacher to learn about the individual needs of the students, which is also very important, because all the children in the classroom are different, and we need to give them support in any possible way that we can. So in order to enhance their creativity, I decided to use Story Jumper, which is actually a great way to create stories. So with the younger children, we do something in class, whether it is from Play-Doh or collage or simply their drawings. So we create them and then I upload them, and depending on the age of the students, we either write the text together or I write the text by myself, and then we go back and look at what we've done during the lessons. With the older students, it's easier because they can create their own stories, and they can also create the stories with different features that this application offers. And of course, it's a great way, a great portfolio for once they finish school, that the students can take it with them and always go back to and have fond memories of their days at school. So I hope that you found interesting and useful ideas in my presentation. So no matter what, I was inspired by becoming a mother. You can get inspired by something else. But my recommendation today for you is to go digital with Jamboard in order to promote social emotional learning. But of course, there are so many ways and you can use this application. ThinkLink, that really enables you to have experiential learning and can take you to any corner of the world. Coach Josh is there for you to steer you up a bit and give you great physical activities that are useful for children. Story Jumper to create unforgettable stories, and of course Padlet to promote collaboration with the parents. Thank you so much for your attention, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Emilija. I think that also the kindergartens got their answers now. So thank you really for your inspiring work. I was really it's so good. Yeah. Our time is actually up. So I will take this time to invite you to Ljubljana. Yes, dear people, I'm inviting you to Ljubljana to come on the free Erasmus Plus K1 event on positive education, on the growth mindset, which is in February, on Valentine's Day, actually, so on 14th and 15th February. In which we will have presentations from different schools across Europe. This is just a little bit of taste what we will experience. So, for instance, one school from Spain will present how they introduce growth mindset project to little children in primary school. Then one school from Slovenia will present the mindset culture in the primary school. A school from Romania will present a test for 2 generations, a very good project also. And then from Reunion Island, a school will present developing links with parents also. Then we have the growth mindset in everyday school life. This will be presented by a school from Sweden, Frida Skolan, and Grow Week project also from Romania, and from Slovenia a case of professional development for teachers on the topic on growth mindset. This is one event in Ljubljana, so we will not be online this time. No, we will sit and discuss and be inspired with each other, drinking coffee, sharing our lunches. So really kindly invited, and I will post in the chat all the links that you need for that. So the detailed program and also the detailed the registration form. I hope I will see a lot of you in Ljubljana. So yeah, for today, we just have to say thank you for all the presentations. I was really happy to listen to all of them, and thank you Longtail Project in Erasmus Plus that we were actually enabled to deliver this conference. The next conference is in February, on 23rd of February. Please do apply for the conference either as a listener, either as a presenter, and show your work to other teachers across Europe. Goodbye to all of you.